Welcome to English Stories by Manvi Sharma, where simple stories create powerful lessons. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to share a very emotional and honestly, a very inspiring story with you. Today's story is called The Girl Who Failed Every Exam. It is a story that teaches us that failure is not the end, but the beginning of learning. Section 1. Dreams and Disappointments. Our story begins with a young girl named Mira. She was a girl with a beautifully kind heart, so honest in her actions, and just absolutely full of bright, colorful dreams. Just like you or me, she looked toward the future with so much hope. Her absolute biggest wish in the world? Well, she simply wanted to make her parents proud. But a deeply heartbreaking reality stood in her way, casting a very long shadow over all of those dreams. Fail again and again. Every single time the exam results were pinned to the school notice board, Mira's heart would just pound in her chest. She would scan that long list of students, her eyes tracing down, 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 and every single time, her name was sitting right there, at the absolute bottom. It wasn't just a simple one-off mistake. It was a continuous, painful cycle of staring at that one devastating word, fail. Section 2. The weight of failure. You see, this was no longer just about bad grades on a piece of paper. This emotional weight grew heavier and heavier with every passing day. The environment around her began to grow cold. Soon, even her teachers, the very people who were meant to guide her and lift her up, well, they began to sigh, shake their heads, and slowly lose hope in her potential. She will never succeed. And sadly, it wasn't just the quiet disappointment of the teachers. The cruelty of her classmates was so much louder. She will never succeed. That is what they would whisper. I mean, imagine sitting in a crowded classroom trying to make yourself as small as humanly possible, just hearing their muffled laughter from the back rows, hearing them whisper that you are hopeless, that you don't even belong there. It is a terrible, crushing burden for a young heart to carry. At home, Mira tried so hard to be brave. Sitting around the family dinner table, she stayed quiet, putting on this fragile, forced smile for her parents. She just wanted to protect them from her pain, you know? That smile was her armor. It was her way of trying to show the world that she was okay. But behind closed doors, behind that trembling smile, she was completely breaking down inside. The constant sting of failure and those cruel whispers, they were slowly tearing her spirit apart. Maybe I'm not smart enough. One night, sitting completely alone in her dark bedroom, that armor finally shattered. She cried, and through her heavy, silent tears, she whispered a terrifying thought to herself. Maybe I'm not smart enough. It is such a lonely, dark place to be, to truly believe that no matter how hard you try, no matter how many hours you put in, you simply lack the fundamental ability to succeed. Section 3. A Grandmother's Wisdom. But thankfully, her story does not end in that dark, lonely room. The very next day, Mira's grandmother noticed her swollen eyes. She walked softly into the room and sat gently beside her on the bed. She didn't scold her, she didn't ask about her grades or blame her for the poor marks. She just sat there, radiating warmth, offering a quiet, safe space for Mira to just breathe. Do you know why you are failing? After a long, peaceful moment, her grandmother placed a comforting hand over Mira's and asked her a very simple yet profound question. Do you know why you are failing? Mira didn't have an answer. She just looked down at her lap and stayed completely silent. Because you are afraid of failing. Breaking that heavy silence, her grandmother smiled a warm, gentle smile. Because you are afraid of failing. Mira looked up, her eyes just full of confusion. I mean, how could being terrified of something actually cause it to happen? But this gentle, unexpected truth was about to shift the way she saw her entire world. Her grandmother softly explained a very deep lesson about life. If you fear failure, you run from it. You hide from difficult questions, you avoid the hard topics, and when you do that, you stop learning altogether. You just freeze. But if you can accept failure, if you can look at a bad grade and say, okay, this is just a natural part of the process, that is the exact moment you start improving. Running from failure completely stunts your growth, but accepting it, that unlocks the path to getting better. Those words sank incredibly deep into Mira's heart. Section 4. Embracing the mistakes. From that single, quiet afternoon forward, everything changed. Mira gathered a newfound determination. She realized that her old way, running away and hiding out of pure fear, was over. She was ready to face her studies head-on. She created an entirely new blueprint for herself. Step 1. She stopped studying just to memorize and pass. Instead, she studied to truly understand the world around her. Step 2. She found her voice. Even when her hand trembled, she raised it in class and started asking questions. Step 3. She committed to practicing her work every single day, without excuses. And step 4. When she made mistakes, and she certainly still made them, she didn't cry in the dark anymore. She learned from them. She no longer feared failure. She was actively using it to build her knowledge. Section 5. The courage to continue. Eventually, the final test arrived. The exams came around once again. As Mira walked into that cold classroom and sat down at her desk, she took a deep breath. She felt nervous, of course. That is completely natural. But she was no longer scared. She looked at the blank paper calmly, picked up her pen, and simply gave it her absolute best. And then result day arrived. She stood in front of the notice board, her hands shaking slightly. Her eyes traced down the list. She passed. She didn't pass with the top marks in the class. She wasn't at the very top of the board. But it was enough. It was enough to prove to herself that her grandmother was right. For the very first time in her life, a beautiful, genuine smile of truly earned confidence spread across Mira's face. That single passing grade was just the beginning of a magnificent, long-term journey. From day one, where she refused to give up, to months later continuously learning and improving, leading right up to years later, when she finally achieved her ultimate dreams. She didn't reach her goals because she suddenly magically became the smartest person in the room. She reached them through relentless dedication and her absolute refusal to stop trying. The real success in the story wasn't just passing a difficult test. It was her incredible courage to continue when everything felt impossible. The very classmates who once whispered cruel things and laughed at her, well, they grew to respect her deeply. They saw her true strength. They realized that her strength wasn't in never failing. Her strength was in her unyielding, beautiful resilience to keep going no matter what. So, what is the ultimate takeaway we can all learn from Mira's journey? Failure is not the end. It is the beginning of learning.